Welcome to Hack Chat. Again, we are live. It is Black Hat FOMO edition, and I'm excited about this guest. This is my boy. I've known him for a long time, long time, and I'm happy that he took his time out. I know he was going to go to Black Hat. I was going to go to Black Hat, but I got sick. I couldn't go, and then I know Jason, you tweeted, sir. Jason Haddix, everyone. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming out, you hanging out for a while. Black Hat FOMO edition. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. So this is live. I'm looking at all the chats on all platforms that are streaming on. So submit your questions. I will ask Jason, how are you doing, sir? Introduce yourselves for the people that don't know you.
Good, man. I'm doing well. At home, missing all the festivities, and definitely have that FOMO. But doing okay. And yeah, my name is Jason. I've been a pen tester for about 15 years now, or at least in security for about 15 years now. Started off as a pen tester, small consultancy. Went to HP and worked with a tremendous team. Became director of penetration testing at HP for several years. And then basically did a variety of roles at BugCrowd, the bug bounty hunting platform. I did operations, I did researcher trust and engagement, I did sales engineering, I did some product stuff, I did all kinds of stuff at BugCrowd. Also, I've been a bug hunter on the bug bounty platforms for, I would say, 7 years now. And I'm ranked in the top 100 on most platforms. So yeah, so I do a lot of hacking. Right now, I work at a video game company as kind of the CISO role and enjoying that, and happy to be live. So.
Awesome. I mean, let's go into bug bounty. How did you get into bug bounty?
I don't know. Do you know Casey, Marco?
Yeah.
Casey, yeah. So Casey, when he was just getting BugCrowd, like kind of started. We had met at a couple conferences, exchanged over Twitter and stuff like that. And I had done some vulnerability disclosure, but not a ton, like via like email and the old school process and stuff like that, but not a ton. I was mostly into pen testing. And he emailed me and he's like, I'm starting this thing, this platform thing called BugCrowd. And do you want to test on this program we have coming up? And it was one of the really early Bitcoin platforms. And back then, in those days, if you wanted to make side cash, as a pen tester, you had to have a contract. You had to like moonlight and get like someone to like accept your contract, and it wasn't really favorable. And it was a lot of work to get like a side hustle going. And he was like, yeah, all you have to do is sign this, like NDA here, and we will pay you per bug that you find. And it was all an email. So it was Casey and Jay Cran. Just started the platform, and they were like, come check it out. So I did. I ended up hitting like 3 or 4 bounties. I think one of my biggest first ones was a WAF bypass, where I was on a program where the WAF had basically blocked every other tester, and I had found a bypass. So I basically had a full 4 days ahead of everyone else on the program, and I crushed it. And I made not only the money for the WAF bypass, but also every bug I found past it as well. And that was super fun. And then I was addictive, like, because they had just launched the leaderboard back then. There was no way to compare yourself to another pen tester, right? Like it was like, yeah, you go to a conference, you talk to some dude for like an hour, and that you've respected for a long time, and then you find out like, he's a Nessus monkey, that's like all he does, and you're like, okay, well, like that's still cool, there's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
like I wanted to know where I was relative to other people in my field. And so they had the leaderboard, and it was really easy to see on the bug bounty platforms. It's like, hey, I'm like, top 5 right now on this platform. And so after that, it was super addicting, right? The money, the leaderboard, like meeting new people like I had never heard of before on the leaderboard, like reaching out to them, starting to see all the disclosures come online about the bugs that were found. And I was just hooked, and ever since that, I've never stopped.
Now, I knew about bug bounty, but what opened my eyes was the talk that you gave at DEF CON, and which now everybody mentions always, is the bug bounty methodology. You want to
Yeah,
go into that real quick, because
yeah,
to me that's It was huge. It was a game changer.
Yeah. So in DEF CON, I want to say 19 was when I gave that talk. So quite a while ago now. But the talk is basically, Dan Meisler and I had worked at HP for a long time with some really talented individuals, and we had spent 5 years building up a pen testing methodology, but mostly it was application based, right?
Hmm.
So application hacking, and so it was kind of my experience from working there, my own tips and tricks that I had, and then I just I got like a hair up my butt, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and research every bug hunter on HackerOne and BugCrowd, and go to their blogs and see what they're doing and like parse the best research and put all these tips and tricks in this talk. And like it would be a talk that I want to see, right? Like I already know how to do basic web testing, right? And I already kind of know how to do advanced web testing, but I want is this amalgamation of tips and tricks and the best tools to use, right? So I'm not wasting my time on stuff that's like, not useful. And so that talk was given at the DEF CON 101 track. I think that was my second DEF CON talk. And I gave it and it was wonderful. And Ben went and presented with me on some research he had done. And so that was his first DEF CON talk as well. Yeah, it was great. And people liked it. People really liked it. And so I assumed that people would want to get updates on that, because a lot of it is fresh, right? It's very fresh. It's from this year. Usually when I do an update, it's like, because pen testing stuff gets stale so fast. Like some of it stays the same, but
Hmm.
some of the tooling and like the methods get stale after 6 months or something like that. So every year I try to do an update on the talk, and this was the first year this year that I didn't because of COVID and just a bunch of mental health reasons, and there was a lot of pressure for the next version of the talk, and I just kind of crumbled a little bit. So hopefully it'll get out there eventually. But yeah, so that's kind of where that talk came from.
You're so busy. Do you still invest in doing a lot of bug bounty because you're working, you're doing talks? Do you still lock and load and go hunt for bugs?
It's a seasonal thing for me. I've noticed. So like right now, I'm not doing a ton. And I haven't done a ton for the last 6 months, I would say. But usually sometime around Christmas or like January or something like that, I will just get the bug and I'll start doing it again. And it's almost necessary because like at this point in my career, I'm a security leader and I'm doing a lot of non-technical stuff. And just trying to like grow an organization, support my people and stuff like
So
that.
you
And
want to sharpen your tools
yeah, I
and
need
stay
I need
sharp.
some of the hacking for myself. So I will compete in CTFs and I will do bug hunting on the side. But it's also like that magical kind of lightning strike, right? You got to have the right program for you.
Mm.
That you've got to find something early to keep you going. Like there's nothing more discouraging than spending a week on a target and not finding crap, which sucks. But if everything lines up right, yeah, I can get sucked into a program for weeks or months.
So we just had Stoke, and he does bug bounty, and he kind of said the same thing that you just said. It's a seasonal thing. He's like,
Yeah,
autumn is my thing because that's when
yeah,
he's like, that is my thing. I love it.
yeah,
And he gets into it. And he said the same thing. You got to find your program.
yeah.
He compared it to a television show. He says a TV show has a pilot. And if you like it, you're going to watch the whole season.
Mhm.
You're gonna stream the whole season. You're gonna watch it, and
Yep,
and that's kind of what you said. You got to find your footing. You got to find what you like. We already
yep,
have a question
yeah.
from LinkedIn. Josh Norton, as a top pen tester, what keeps the role from being stale? How would you keep that feeling of motivation? Was it the challenge or the recognition within the community or something else? Good question.
That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, for me, just being, somewhat of a narcissist, it's the recognition, right? Like, you do the job, and just to be like super concrete, right? Like, red teams nowadays are different from pen testing when I was doing it, right? There's a lot of different scope and,
Hmm.
but like I don't know. You run the same methodology over and over again, and you get excited when you find good bugs, right? And then you submit them. And if you're a consultant, you submit them to the client, and it's kind of this black box, and you might never hear from them again, right? And, or if you work for a staff of pen testers, you give it to the group at your work, and they work on remediation. Maybe you have some part in remediation, but that happens over and over again. You're right. The role gets a little stale. The community, this community that we're actually talking about FOMO from, is what kept me going for many years in that role. So giving talks, like just sharing my experience. What I like to tell people is like, you don't have to be like the top hacker in the world to be qualified to give a talk, right? I love talks where I see people like doing like intro to burp, right? Or like like someone talking about like using open vase and like or like some using nuclei or AMAS or one of the kind of tools that you're going to use in your everyday work, and just going over the tips and tricks in that, right? That's valuable enough, and you can give those talks anywhere and meet people and build like a small group of friends that you kind of trust, who are other hackers and are into the things that you are into. And yeah, I mean, lifelong friendships have been met from the con
Yes, sir.
scene.
Yes, sir.
And I remember, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, but I mean,
Go for it.
one of the first DEF CON and Black Hats I went to, that was probably one of the most fun ones that I wasn't alone, was with Joe McCrae.
Yeah.
Um,
Why
and
wouldn't
he,
we be allowed to talk about it? Come on, let's bring it all out. We had
yeah.
fun that was
Oh
DEF
yeah.
CON
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. 16. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how we met, through
Yeah.
Joe.
Yep.
I had the party upstairs, and you
Yep.
came over,
Yep.
and we. So let me give the background story for
Yeah. Sure. Go
people
ahead.
that are watching, all the people live. Again, this is live. Send in your questions. You see me looking at the live chats. I'm at, those questions that are being asked will be asked, and Jason will answer them. So this is how we met. Joe McCrae, he's my boy. I just spoke to him around 3 weeks ago. Jason, I don't know how you met Joe, but
I'll let you know in a second. Yeah.
yeah, we were talking, and that's going to be real good. Your the what you're going to say, but we were talking at DEF CON 16. We were giving a talk, and then after the talk, we had rented a penthouse at the Riviera. You came up, we met, we hung out. I think you came to the after party as well,
Mhm.
in the Pepper Mill, and that's
Yep.
how we met,
Yeah.
right? And we lost touch, and then we found, I think we reunited 2 or 3 RSAs ago, and that's
Mhm.
we reunited, and we were having conversations, but that's how we met. And what you were saying about lifelong friends, yesterday I had Andre Hall on. I met him, the only person I met at DEF CON 8. He was the only person I met, and we are still friends to today. And I always kid with him, when we're 80, we're going to be in rocking chairs talking about the good old days, DEF CON 8,
Yeah.
right? So go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Oh yeah. So DEF CON 16 was my second DEF CON, I believe. And at that point, like I was a baby pen tester, right? Like, I mean, I had done some blogging, and I was doing a lot of tool reviews at that time, and like and stuff on my blog back when blogs were the primary
Mhm.
source of information in the scene. And Joe had a talk. He had the first iteration of his SQL injection talk, which
Mm.
back then was really a no nonsense talk about how to do SQL injection.
Yes.
And so many other people were like building these talks about the theory behind SQL injection. And Joe was like, nah, here's these strings, pop these in these boxes, and and then here's what you do, and here's the best tools. And he really had a great talk. And so he was doing a training at Black Hat that
And I
year.
want to add on to that, and I know
Yeah.
why you said, "Are we allowed to talk about this?" Because
Yeah.
he was, I'll say it. He was showing how to pop it on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah,
He
he
was,
was.
yeah, he was popping
Yeah.
stuff on stage. Like,
Yeah.
this ain't theory. Let's go
Yeah.
and pop boxes now.
Yeah, exactly. And that was so that was my exposure to Joe, and he was giving a class at Black Hat, and he was doing the class, And at that point, I was reviewing a lot of tools, and I had reviewed a few classes, right? Because OffSec was really the only thing back then,
Mm-hmm.
and new vendors had started to come out, like eLearn Security and some other ones. They had just come out, and I was reviewing them from like the point of view of a pretty modern pen tester.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed Joe and I said, Joe, you're doing this Black Hat class. Would you mind if I sat in and did an article and review about it? And I was part of a few communities there that would want to read that, and and so he was like, yeah, absolutely, come and be a guest at the Black Hat talk or the Black Hat class. So
Yeah.
I basically got a free Black Hat training and got to sit in and look at his class, and it was really, really good. The amount of content he gave out at his class, the organization was really good. But what happened was, in the middle of his Black Hat class, um, the VMs, basically I forget if it was the FTP server broke down or something like that. The first day of class, he couldn't distribute the VMs.
Yep.
And so it was him and two TAs who I'm still friends with today. I won't name them on stream, but basically they were staying up all night the first night burning CDs to give to the students to have all the tools and everything. And Joe was like, hey, is there any way that you have a CD burner on your laptop? Can we, borrow you to help burn CDs tonight? And I was like, hell yeah, because I had built a little rapport with him. And so we stayed up until like 2 a.m. burning CDs for the class. I actually, helped him like with the students. I was more of a TA than anything. And we built a bond, and that was kind of the beginning of Joe and I's relationship. And then we were pretty close for a long time. And then I ended up hiring like one of his TAs later, and we're really good friends now too. So the later on that week, he was like, "Yo, I got this guy and this party that kind of goes on. It's just a suite. We order a bunch of food, we have a bunch of alcohol, and it's just people hacking. So like, you want to go to this thing?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll go to this thing." And that was my first exposure to you.
Yep.
Is in the hack suite. And I'll never forget it because I saw some unnamed but really known person just sitting on the couch popping SQL injection on CNN.com, like live, just projected up onto the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is some crazy shit right here.
Yes,
like,
sir.
this is great.
We had a projection,
a
projector on the wall, and everybody had their laptops, and they were like, next.
Yeah, who's got the next righteous hack?
Yeah, who's got the next? We were just hanging out, right? We were just hanging out, teaching each other things. Yeah. This is back before it was an industry; it was a community, right? It was a small community, and it was cool, right? And that's what this is: teaching each other, not doing anything malicious, just showing, hey, this is how you do it, and this is your talks are. Like that, you're it's like knowledge transfer with your talks, and I love that. We have another question coming out of LinkedIn. Are you seeing enterprises becoming more progressive to use pen testers and work with folks like yourself before the problem really happens, or do they wait till they have a product, Sentinel-1 finds a disaster, and then they call you? I guess what he's trying to say is, are they trying to prevent it and look for these bugs before disaster strikes them? And I do find myself, I see companies are, as the popularity and the White House talks about these hacks and critical infrastructure, how to protect yourself from ransomware, I do see more companies becoming a little proactive. Look, one thing I want people to understand is that sometimes for companies like a clothing company or a manufacturer of supermarkets or whatever it is, security is a cost. Right. And it's hard for them to have that security mindset when that's not their business. So you have to hire the right people that have security in mind, and hire people, pen testers, hire, analysts to build up that security. What about your experience, Jason, with that?
I would say there's been kind of a 3-phase kind of growth cycle for companies dealing with security, and in phase 1 was real shitty. It was like attack the attacker, right? Like anybody who, or attack the submitter, right? Anybody who, uh, blew something up on, disclosure list, mailing list, anybody who contacted someone directly, it was like get the lawyers involved, and we're past that, thank God. I think most of the time, like there are still some horrible companies that will take that route,
Mm-hmm.
but most nowadays are better in what I would call like phase two. So phase two is a little bit more lukewarm. Companies, most companies have either at least one IT person who is specialized in security, or they have their own security team doing testing or incident response or whatever. And they realize that it's part of building the business. And it's just kind of table stakes at this point. So I think we're getting more towards that, and I have seen growth in our industry. I think we're entering into phase three with the Biden kind of policy, right? And phase three basically mandates that you have to have a way to take vulnerabilities from researchers, right? Which is a big thing. Like I know some people have been talking about it, but it's really a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not a lot of higher authority than the president when it comes to like policies. So
Yeah.
I think that's we're heading into phase three, where it'll be more than table stakes. It'll be like kind of like built into the business, how you respond to security disclosures, and how you do like a bounty or a vulnerability disclosure program or something like that. And it's only getting better. Now, that being said, there's always bad apples, right? There's always companies who are product first, and product first in a way that they think that security is a blocker and a cost, which it can be sometimes. It sucks, but that's just the truth. It can be sometimes, but and then they'll push it off and make it part of their tech debt that eventually they plan to pay off. But everybody knows that nobody really pays off all their tech debt, right? So they end up getting popped and then having to deal with it and learning kind of the hard way that they just should have built in application security or product security or whatever it is into their kind of roadmap.
We have another question from LinkedIn. Josh Norton, this is a good question. Security needs ambassadors, and getting people with high quality skills is really difficult. As you said, it's a community. So for me, coming from the outside and trying to find those people, do I seem like an enemy or do I seem like an opportunity?
So this person is a security person, and they're saying,
Yeah, they're saying he's not in the community. He doesn't go to conferences. It seems like he doesn't go to conferences, or he's not well known. How do I get people with skills to come into his company, as an outsider? He's saying, does it feel like an opportunity, or does it not seem like an opportunity because he's not entrenched with the community?
I mean, I have a very specific point of view on this, right? Like, I think that skills are great, and you need to have them as like table stakes or a baseline as a professional. But really, networking and marketing yourself are two of the biggest things that you can do.
Yes,
And so
sir.
if you're someone trying to get high skilled people, it helps if you're out in the community, right? And so like to this person, I would say just jump in, right? Jump in and go to some of the smaller cons, go to some of the meetups like OWASP, DEF CON meetups, even hacker spaces. If you're more in the management kind of world, you can do ISSA, or like, there's meetups in every
Everywhere.
city. Yeah,
Correct.
everywhere. There's like local ones like Hack Austin, and like, or Austin Hackers Club. So yeah, I mean, like there's meetups everywhere. You can go and just have a beer with people, and people don't care if you're not the leadest guy in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like, or girl, it's like
You're making an
person.
effort to be
Yeah,
around
yeah,
like-minded individuals, and
yeah,
that is the trend over the last 2 days as I've been doing these live streams. It's about the community, and this is why I'm
yeah,
doing it. I know for a fact, because I feel buzzed having this conversation, that I'm gonna walk away and I'm gonna have energy to
yeah,
just do.
yeah,
And one of the things is, I know we're in COVID, but there's still meetups, right? There's
Yeah.
still, you still could go to OWASP even online. There's
Hmm.
Nova Hackers, Chris Gates, he's
Yeah.
doing them online. You could have these conversations, and it's just meeting, expanding your network.
Yeah.
And that's how I know Jason, right? And Joe has introduced me to many people, and vice versa. And it's all about the community and how can we share knowledge and be around like-minded individuals. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm doing this, right? I know there's someone out there that's going to walk away with so many nuggets from hearing Jason, and he's just going to take and run with it. He's going to look him up. He's going to look at his methodology. He's going to look at his old Twitches. And by the way, I really am a fan of your Twitch streams.
Oh,
Is that
really?
coming back? Please say yes. Please
I
say
want to, man.
yes.
It's so like as much as I seem like an extrovert when I do stuff like this or when I'm at cons, it's like turning on like a battery or like, and I get drained really easily. I'm actually somewhat of an introvert. And so the Twitch streams take a lot out of me if I'm just being super transparent. Like Twitch streaming live is like performing live, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like doing a performance live for hours. And I've talked with other content creators about this, and um like it's nice to have and like to do live, but I'm one of those people that would rather prepare my content to do a
Correct.
ton of research and then blast out like a prepared piece of content. And that might be coming this year, but I don't know what I'm going to do on Twitch. Like I could just game on Twitch and just chill, and that would make it easier and answer questions about InfoSec while I game. I could do some recon and stuff like that. But I mean, you'll notice even like Ben is kind of the same way. Like he'll do some streams, but there's not a lot of live hacking going on lately. It's just because it takes its toll, like
Yeah.
being on all the time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's it's crazy. Shout out to Susan because she's helping me answer questions on LinkedIn. So I see you,
nice.
Susan. Props to you. Um, I wanted to get into what would you recommend for new bug bounty hunters entering their first year, and how would you help them set measurable goals?
So new bug bounty hunters can mean a lot of things, right? Because some people are going from nothing, not ever having any experience at all in security testing, to wanting to get into bounty.
Mm-hmm.
And for that person, there is so many resources that you need to just get caught up with, right? Like the MDSec training courses, Pen Tester Lab, all of the vulnerable applications that exist, that are posted on OWASP for you to practice on. You sit down with a training curriculum like MDSec, or not MDSec, but the the WebSec Academy, excuse me, used to be called MDSec. Now it's called WebSec Academy, the burp training basically. And you sit down and you learn your core vulnerabilities, and then you do variations of them on these different vulnerable apps that are, for learning. You do some pen tester lab, and like that'll get you spun up into the AppSec world, and that should be the start. And then you move on to like, doing a program. And you got to understand that programs are battle hardened apps, and they're also larger than these things that you've been, where a vulnerability is, right? Like in a CTF or in like a WebSec lab, there's a form and there's a vulnerability there, right? So you can just pound on it until you figure it out. Apps have hundreds, if not thousands of parameters sometimes, like real enterprise apps, there's protections in place and stuff like that. So set your goals at something, you know, something low. Even duplicates at the start. We all started off with duplicates in the bug bounty scene, right? Like, go submit something
Mm-hmm.
that's low or medium severity, and you'll get duplicated. And that actually should be a win for you, not a loss for you, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't go into it thinking you're going to make thousands and thousands of dollars. You should, at the start, it's going to be about experience and validation that you're doing the right things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, after a little while, you'll build up some rep on these companies, even submitting, valid duplicates, and you'll get program invites that are private programs, which
Mm-hmm.
haven't been hit as much as the public programs. And eventually you'll get a private program invite to some place that, is running an older technology or just like hasn't had any AppSec testing or whatever, or, maybe you just like your skills are good enough now, and you'll find your first medium or high valid non-duplicate. and you'll get paid some money, and you'll find your niche through this, right? You'll find out, what you're good at: SQL injection, race condition, cross-site scripting, and you'll find your thing, and just keep plugging at it, right? But I made a tweet a while ago, right? Like, a lot of people are in a different form. They've been pen testing or security testing for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then they decide to do some bug bounty for extra money on the side. And that person, you can't expect to be like that person and just jump in and find bugs right away,
Yeah.
right? Like, I made a big splash when I got into bug bounty years ago, but I had already 10 years of pen testing experience, right? I was already doing app testing, right? So it wasn't like a big leap for me to, find things, and I found stuff immediately, but it was only because I had all that experience. So you got to keep that in perspective when you're a new person, because a lot of people have already had experience. So
Yeah, I agree. I was a rookie when it came to hack and web, and dealing with like web applications was brand new to me. I'm a reverse engineer by trade, so I
yep.
was looking for programs that had binaries that I could reverse. And then, luckily, Santiago Lopez is a friend of mine, and he was like, "Look, start with this. This is going to help you out. It's going to be easy. Here's a specific course. I believe it was Udemy." And then he was like, "Look, concentrate on IDOR because you'll find a lot of
You'll
things there."
find IDOR, yeah.
And the first three bugs I found, I was happy I submitted it.
Yep.
Dupe, right?
Yeah.
And it was okay. I was still happy because I found them. I was
Yeah.
excited that I found the bugs, even though they were dupes. I was like, it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm trusting the process.
Yeah.
I'm very new to like understanding web applications and stuff like that.
hmm
So it was interesting, and then I was happy at the same time. And then I built the relationship where a 19-year-old is my mentor, right, when it comes to doing bug bounties, and this is the game, right?
Oh
you
yeah,
know
that's it.
it's the game, and he's at the top of his game, and Hacker One and stuff like that.
The
So
amount of mentorship I get from people who are 10 plus years younger than me is a lot, right?
yeah,
And they're at the time in their life where not only are they every year they are younger and younger with better technical skills, right? Because we've created this industry that promotes security testing now, but also they're hungry. They're in their
oh
early
yeah,
20s and they're hungry,
and
man.
they
They
have a
want to
lot
find
of energy.
bugs. They
Yep.
want to travel. They want to build a life that is not the 9 to 5, and bug bounty allows that. And so, like, so many of the people I've met and they're wonderful people, teach me every day, and they're young, and it's great. I find a lot of optimism in that.
Let's go into Burp Suite because
Yeah.
to me it's the quintessential tool for web app bug hunters.
Mhm.
Where would you recommend people to start besides getting the pro version and getting their
Um,
skills up and understanding?
yeah. So I think that's, well, first of all, Burp and Zap are almost at the same tier now, I would say. Burp has some functions that I still use more than Zap, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Zap is a completely open source tool with all the functions that you can get with Burp, just with a little bit of a different workflow and UI. The reason I use Burp is because I've used it for 10 plus years. I know all the nooks and crannies of the tool, even when they change it. I kind of know what's going on under the hood. And so I continue to use it. And it has a couple features that I really like that haven't been ported to Zap really quickly. But, like the things that are in Burp Suite that block you from, in the free version are the rate limiting and access to the scanner tool or the fuzzing tool. And those things suck, right? If you're trying to do this for work or for a bug bounty, you can do those things in Zap completely free. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Zap alongside Burp. But to start with any interception proxy, right? There are several courses, right? The whole like WebSec Academy has changed the game a little bit for a lot of training, and Burp just launched its first certificate. But there are so many YouTube videos out there, mine included, on Burp 101, right? Just like how to use an interception proxy, how to
Mm-hmm.
set it up, how to install it, what the different tabs mean, how to trap a request, how to use intruder, how to use match and replace rules, how to use analyze target, how to audit cookies, use it, all the extensions, etc. So, like there are several, Hacker 101 on HackerOne has that I made some for Bug Crowd University. So both bug bounty platforms have free courses that you can take on Burp. You can go through the WebSec Academy stuff that is Burp, right? That's Burp's company, Portswigger. And all of their stuff is geared towards using Burp. So finding the vulnerabilities as part of those free classes, is all geared towards you using Burp Suite. And that's their secret. They're trying to get you stuck on some Burp Suite. So those would be the places I would start. But there's, like you said, there's plenty of Udemy courses as well around like Burp 101 that are free or cheap. And there's just a ton of YouTube videos. There's more than ever out there on YouTube talking about, using these tools and stuff like that. So, I mean, I find a lot of success. One of my mentors was Kevin Johnson. He was the head of, for a long time, the SANS WebSec courses.
Former Guardians as well.
Yeah, former Guardians. That's the OG consultancy,
OG.
dude. When I was growing up, you wanted to be at Guardians.
Yes.
Like,
That was they had a all-star team.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was Ed Scotus, Mike Poore,
Atlas.
Kevin Johnson, Atlas was there. John Strand. I think John Strand was there for a little while. I can't remember. Maybe not.
In Guardians, I was like, I was wishing I was like, man, I'm gonna get there one day. You're right.
Yeah,
that is the OG of consulting. I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna look them up to see what happened.
See what's going on.
I know everyone has split and has done their own thing.
Yeah.
Either their own startups, because that was like the big timers. What was your?
Hold on. I got one more thing before we move on.
Okay.
So, on kind of the training tip, here's a good one. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Kevin Johnson was the original author of SANS, the SANS class, the 542 class, which was web testing, right? Yep. And it was a really good introduction course to web testing that a technical person could do. Taught you all about interception proxies and the vulnerability classes and stuff like that. And for some reason, I don't know whose fault it was, but there was a snafu in licensing on the SANS side where they didn't actually license his content that he made for them. And when he left SANS, he still had the rights to his content, the whole course. He published it for free a year ago, the whole version of his course, and he continues to update some parts of it for absolutely free. So it's like you can get like the SANS training for free. Just go look up his new consultancy, which is Secure Ideas. And I think they have it somewhere there and they're like downloads, but he has a whole web course, which is really, really good, which is what the old SANS class used to be. So, don't pay, $4,500 for a SANS course. Go grab that, look at that first. And then, I don't know who teaches the updated material at SANS and if it's any much better, but Kevin was the OG when it came to creating that content. So,
oh yeah, definitely. What was your first program that you worked on, and did you find a lot of bugs, and did you switch a lot to other programs?
I switched a lot on programs at the beginning. Whenever I got a new invite, that would take priority because like getting in first was kind of a part of the game back then. For me, was like I didn't want to get duplicates, so I would switch contexts a lot. I'm trying to think. Wicker was one I was on. Some grocery store did like a big one. The Bitcoin site that I was on a porn site for a little while. I jumped to whatever was new, honestly. And, I would find some bugs on one. And if it was, if it felt like it was green pasture and I was finding good stuff, I would stay on it for more time. And then if I got an invite, I would stay up all night and, hack on that. And, do you remember your first bug that you found that you got paid for? I don't remember it, but let me log into Bug Crowd real quick.
Yeah, go for it. See, this is live. This is what I love about being live. Shout out to everyone submitting questions. I see you, Hema, Tucker, Susan. Thank you for engaging while he looks that up. Also, shout out to the executive producer of the show. He's always behind the scenes. Adam, I see you. Here's your flowers. Also, Thomas, thank you for the hard work. Sentinel One guys.
That's pretty cool. They let you put on the show, man. This show's been pretty good recently. Like,
yes, sir.
It's nice and produced. You got your space, cool guests. Like, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout
All
out
right,
to
give me.
Migo as well. Go for it.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Someone wants to give you some flowers here. I'm
Nice.
into web app pen testing and bug bounties because of Jason Haddix's initial videos. He
Nice.
sends his thanks. Hema
That's the
Kumar.
best.
There
That's the
goes your
best.
love. There goes your love.
All right.
Go for it.
So let's filter by ascending.
Ah, this question's for me. This is up my alley. Yes, Susan. Okay, can you please tell me if both are right? Reverse engineering, malware engineer. Yeah, they're both right, Susan.
Okay. Okay, so this is very indicative of starting out in bug bounty. My first paid bug was secure HTTP cookie flag not set, $50.
There
That
you
was my
go.
first non-duplicate paid bug. And it was like a best practice that I was putting in pen test reports like back in the day. Like it was more of an informational. And I submitted it to this company. I won't say the name because it was a private program. But I submitted to this company and they were like, yeah, we should absolutely fix that. And their thing was like, hey, if we're going to fix it, we're going to pay at least a little bit. So I got $50. That was my first bug.
Nice.
Now, my first big bug was an application, and let's see here. It was a client-side validation bug, but it's so old now in the bug crowd platform, I can't see what it was. But it was like $1,000.
Ooh.
Oh, this was the WAF. Maybe
Okay.
this was the WAF bypass.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So okay. So this was a bank that did a program, big bank actually,
Okay.
and they had and I did an article about it way back then, but they had a WAF, and uh, the WAF would basically look at the header of your request, or it would look at your originating IP and be like, if you don't come from this IP, we're going to rate limit you after so many attempts in a row, or attack traffic that comes to our server, like general WAF stuff. But if you came from certain IPs, we're not going to rate limit you at all. And this was a default configuration in some WAFs back in the day. The way you would instruct the server is by setting an HTTP header. And so I just added an HTTP header to all my requests that said that my originating IP was 127.0.0.1. And so no longer would the WAF hassle me on every request that I was trying to send to it. And that was worth $1,000. So,
Oh, congrats.
yeah.
What was the longest time you spent on trying to find a program? And if you found it or not, did you just was like, forget it. I'm done. I'm burnt out on this program.
Man. I think it was, oh, shoot. It's a hard question. Like, I don't put down many programs in frustration. Like, I still have the eternal chip on my shoulder, and I just assume I'm not going to find anything when I start a bug bounty. So who was someone that I didn't really like find a ton of stuff that I wished I would have. So, oh, okay. So I spent a month looking at some Google services on a grant one time. And I didn't find anything, and it was super frustrating. And I really wanted to, because being on the Google list of like people who find shit is super cool. And I put in time, and I didn't find anything. So if you're going that route, it can be disappointing. And even if they give you a grant, sometimes you don't find anything. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes I've had pen tests before where, unfortunately, I've had zero findings. Like I've had a whole bunch of informational stuff, but no meaty stuff, right? And in lieu of actual findings, in that case, you write up your attack narrative really well, and you document everything you did and what you focused on, and that you did check these areas of interest for these types of bugs, and that seemed to be enough a lot of the times there. So you're not always going to find cool shit. Sometimes you find just informational or low stuff. Yeah.
How do you push through the fatigue of not finding a bug? And what makes you like get through that frustration and keep on pushing?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's all learning for me, right? Like, I don't, I don't need the money. I have a day job, so
Correct.
it's like,
It's love.
it's
It's
a little
love.
bit different. uh, and you know, I just see it as an opportunity to get technical again. So I'm not pushing through like a ton of adversity when I'm not finding bugs. It's just all documentation until I hit something. There are very few programs where I haven't found anything at all. Like, if you put in a week of really trying to understand a web application, and this is before you even get to the hacking part, you know, if you're really trying to focus in on one program, you're at least going to find like something low or like medium or something like that. Maybe it'll be a duplicate, you don't know, but like there are, you know, a lot of, you know, like after you understand an application, there are a lot of places you can look, right? I mean, when I look at an application, like I use it like a user. I make multiple roles. I investigate all the software that they're baking into it, open source libraries and stuff like that. Then I break it down in at the app level. Oh, I look at the server technology. I look at the ad and analytics. I look at everything, and then I break the application itself down if it's custom made or if it's COTS or open source by where it takes input, right? And then, you know, you at that level, once you've broken down an app into, you know, several domains, there's a lot of surface area to look at. And then when you get down into the input level of what input is the app taking, it's all the parameters, it's all the API parts, it's all the file uploads. You know, it's every form that reflects back user input. You know, it's all of the ways that parameters and cookies are handled and session state is handled. And yeah, I mean, at that point, you have hundreds of avenues of attack to look into. And if you're organized about it, you usually find something.
Yeah, one of the things that I love that I think I've learned from you is how to mind map better.
Yeah.
Your mind mapping is like next level. I've never seen someone do the mind maps like you. Do you have any there, and can you share out to show if possible, if it's something that you can show? Because
Yeah.
to me, this is what it's about. Like if you ever see his live stream and he goes through it, I think it was with Tesla. It blew my mind and it made me rethink like what how I look at things.
Yeah.
And the way you were doing it, you were very methodical, and the way you were dropping it and searching and pivoting and then taking that information and dropping, I was like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
if it, what is your Twitch handle so they could look you up, because I hopefully it's still posted
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah. So, so this was actually an unfortunate thing that happened. So I changed my Twitch name.
Okay.
And when you change your Twitch name, your VODs are deleted. So, but I still have the recordings of them from
Cool.
OBS. So, like, I'll post them up on YouTube. Most of
Nice.
them are posted on YouTube. So, my Twitch is jhaddix56, but I'm not really active there. But
Okay.
my YouTube is just jhaddix, and most of the recon streams are there. And then the one that was super popular was the 4 hour workshop I did for the Red Team Village last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was super popular because I did live hacking as well on, I did it on Office Depot and I did the mind map there as well. So, I mean, a mind map is just a way for you to organize your thoughts and methodologies, right? And put the output of your tools. And for me, it keeps me focused. Like it keeps me from veering off too far because man, my ADHD will take me off into the boonies doing testing, and like with the mind map, I can be reminded of what I've tested, you know, my notes for that target, you know, all of the tool output for that target, you know, the target in general, how big it is, and you know, like what I'm gonna do. And so I have a mind map for the mind map, right? I have my methodology steps in a mind map, and then I have the mind map for the target that I'm running on. And
Can you share out?
yeah,
Is it possible you share out? Let's
yeah,
give it to
hasn't been
them. Nice. I just pasted the link for the Tesla. I think it was 4 hours. Is that a 4 hour stream? 2 hour
I don't know,
stream.
2 hour stream, yeah.
And it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thanks, man.
I would definitely say go and watch it. You will walk away with like mind blown, and
Yep.
you will start using memory maps And if you want, you could share out, and then I could just post it there.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Like
Yep.
that one took my skills to another level,
Nice.
and that's what it's about. Go ahead,
Yeah.
share out if you can.
Yeah, I gotta find it. It's on my hard drive
All
somewhere.
right, all
So
right.
I'll
Let's.
share it out today. I'll share out
All
the
right.
methodology one, and maybe if I have an example of the Tesla one, I'll share it out again. So
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah.
Do you reach out to a lot of fellow researchers when you're banging your head on your keyboard, or for some pointers or help on some bugs?
No, this is like not one of my superpowers. So again, the antisocialness kind of kicks in sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I know everybody has imposter syndrome, so like I guess I shouldn't
Yeah.
lean on that, but um, yeah, I just like I have this fear of reaching out to someone like, Naffy or Ben sometimes on a hard bug or where I think something is vulnerable, and them just being like, dude, you're a noob. I thought you were supposed to be Jay Haddix, like and know everything. And so I don't. I tend to stay away and just try to plow through things on my own. But I know from the community, especially from the bug bounty community, that groups of researchers looking at a target it's just a force multiplier. Like it is intense. Like let's take Sam Curry ZLZ and his team who published all the Apple vulns really recently.
Mm-hmm.
They spent 2-3 months, and Ben was on that team too, and they were just like, yeah, we're gonna hack Apple together. We're gonna split everything, no matter who finds what. Brett Bauerhouse was on that team too, is one of the most talented researchers I know. Zayat, and they just like, yeah, we're just gonna split everything. Everybody's gonna do some recon, but most recon is gonna get done by this person. Like when we find stuff, we're all gonna be able to ask each other. We're gonna sit and we're gonna track stuff in a spreadsheet. They didn't do a mind map, but they did a spreadsheet, and they tore Apple apart on their bug bounty. Like, you think Apple has some their shit together, right? And they're a big company that spends a lot of money on security. And this group of 5 researchers with the collective brain power of Einstein just destroyed them and made hundreds of thousands of dollars in bounties from them. And that's the power of collaboration and these new things that are forming, like teams, right? Like Disturbance, which is the team that Stokes on,
Mm-hmm.
is a bug bounty team, right? And very similar to like an esports team, right? A collective of people who are going to hack together and compete together in the live hacking events, or just like a loose collection of people who just hack together normally but want to have like a brand and a team vibe. Like, that's the future, right? Where you see esports going right now
Yeah.
is where hacking is heading pretty soon.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's a nugget for everyone watching there. You're right about that. Um, how do you get into the zone before starting to hunt for bugs? For me, it's I need good headphones, I need scent, I need the lighting just right, certain type of music, and then I'm locked in. What do you do?
Um, I mean, I need some music, right? So I am an EDM fan, so usually something non-lyrical, a little bit upbeat will get me kind of in that I don't know, on mood, and then I'll be able to start. My environment has to be ready. Like, if I log into my VPS and I haven't worked with it, and it's not rolling and the tools aren't updated and ready to use, it's a really big roadblock, right? If I'm spending time fixing my environment and my tools and stuff like that, something's broken, an API key's not working, a dependency's missing, like um, then it completely stops me in my tracks. So everything has to be ready, like everything has to be updated. I got to have some music. Um, and the challenge is a big portion, right? Like the challenge of the program, and the brand is a big driver. Like, I got to be interested in hacking the brand, either from the point of view of it's a cool brand and I want to contribute to their mission, or it's a brand that I actually hate and I want to hack their stuff.
Hmm.
So either way, yeah. And so when those things align, I can get started pretty easily. So
Nice. Hema Kumar from YouTube, question, shout out to him. He tried searching for some resources with cloud pen testing.
mhm.
Do you recommend anything for cloud pen testing? He says he didn't get much, especially AWS. Can you recommend something for him?
Hmm. So I don't have anything off the top of my head that comes. I know there's a guy I follow on Twitter, but I can't remember his name, who's like a kind of a new school cloud expert when it comes to security. And I follow his tweets, and he's always, you know, posting really insightful stuff on cloud configuration and IAM rules and exposed panels and all kinds of different cloud misconfigurations. And so if I can find him, I'll tweet him out. I forgot his name right now, but I mean, mostly what you can do if you're just getting into a topic is the life cycle of learning how to pen test X technology, or in this case, cloud, right? It goes from like being really fringe and some people doing some research and doing DEF CON, Black Hat, B-sides, whatever talks, and you can find those on YouTube. Then someone codifies all that information and is an expert in their own right, and they'll make a class that they'll teach live at one of the cons. And so my friend Philip Wiley talked about this, about like how to hacking, right? How do you stay relevant? How do you stay on the cutting edge, right? Go to the syllabuses, because the syllabuses are always published online for Black Hat talks or for B-sides or DEF CON workshops or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go look up at the author and their past talks, look up all the topics that they're talking about specifically in the syllabus, and you will find blogs and YouTube videos referencing those attack vectors or those misconfigurations, or how to find them or how to use the tools. And then you can build yourself from there, right? Like all the information, it pretty much starts out for free, then gets codified into like a paid thing, and then it comes back into the community for free. And that's kind of the life cycle of a new topic. Like when you're saying pen testing X, right? You could say the same thing about like pen testing serverless applications, or single page applications, sorry, or pen testing, whatever, XYZ. And that's, you just got to be able to effectively Google and research and find the experts and then parse what they're saying and turn it into your own methodology. So that's what we did at Fortify. When I was when HP purchased Fortify and became part of Fortify, mobile was really new back then, especially iOS. Not a lot of people were doing it. There was some people at ISS, and there were some people at NCC, and there were a couple people at IOActive who were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Veracode also had published some research. And when asked to make a mobile methodology for a pen testing department, you went out to all that, looked at all their talks, parsed what worked for us, what didn't, automated what worked for us, what didn't, started using that, found more vulns that we were finding that and then we turned it into this whole mobile methodology, and we had one of the best ones in the world for a little while at Fortify. And so it's all about Googling your face off, I guess.
Yeah, Savash added a comment. He goes, Jason Haddix, most humble, most decent, true human being. Thank you, sir, for all
Thanks,
you've
guys.
done for the community. Awesome.
Very welcome. Of course, anytime.
We have another question from YouTube. When you're hacking constantly on a program, but you didn't find anything, did you constantly dig in, or just accept the truth that the website at the time that you didn't find a bug is really secure and you move on to the next, or do you take time? I think you kind of mentioned that earlier, that you always, the ego in you always feels like you can find the bug.
I can. There is a cutoff point though. So if I log into a new program, and I start doing recon on what technology they're using, and it's totally outside of my field, like let's take smart contracts, right? Like I got an invite to a smart contract bounty several months ago, and it's totally out of my field, and I don't have the time to research it. There is a cutoff amount of time that I'll take looking at the program, which is probably somewhere around the 5 to 6 hour mark. So 5 to 6 hours in, if I am just outside of my depth, I'm pretty sure the site is, secure using, whatever web technologies I am familiar with. There's not a lot of input, and the only thing or the only thing in scope is the technology that I'm not really like, I have time to do like a deep dive into. I might move on at like 5 or 6 hours.
That's awesome insight. What is next for Jason?
Oh boy, this is a good conversation. So I'm currently leading a global security team, and kind of as head of security, or kind of like the CISO role, and um, is a lot to learn, right? There's a lot more to security than offensive security, which is what we talk about a lot
Hmm.
on these things in bug bounty. And so there's a lot more to learn in that space. And so I feel like I'm a giant noob. And sometimes I feel okay, but I have a lot of great experienced people as contacts to reference, and I'm always getting mentored. That's great. And I have a lot of supportive people on my team. And um, and I have done some leadership at my previous company. So I'll continue on with that. As far as like the bug bounty world goes, and the offensive security world goes, and content creation goes, um, my buddy Dan keeps on telling me I need to make a class, right? I need to make like my master class and my own
Yes,
spin on web hacking, and
I
turn the
agree.
bug hunters methodology into something that I can make some revenue from. And It's just never been that thing. It's never been a thing that I've always published it for free, but I might do like a longer version where I do the whole workshop. I did one at AppSec Cali 2 years ago where I ran the bug hunters methodology as like a 2 day workshop, deep dived into everything, hacked with the students, and that was pretty cool. And so maybe putting out something like that could be cool. I worry about, though, there's so many hacking classes that are coming out these days, and would mine just be like another on the list, right? That you've heard everything already or something like that. So it
I don't
keeps
think
me.
so. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think
I don't
I
know.
think you're so humble. Listen, you have a lot of skills. Like I said, I think just doing recon and mind mapping is a whole day that you can just cover. I think,
Yeah.
because there's it's so vast, and then, it's a process. The
Mhm.
process on how you go about it is something that everyone, I believe, that is interested in bug bounties or pen testing in general, is something that they can use. It's. I think you need to do it. I know you're super busy, but I know it'll be a bestseller. It'll definitely be a bestseller out there. And
Yeah.
a lot of people follow you, and they see once you tweet out, hey, this class is available, it'll sell immediately.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, during COVID, how hard
Mhm.
has it been over the last year and a half? No cons, no events. You're not meeting with like-minded individuals to share ideas and learn from, them, and just sharing knowledge. How hard has that been? And, what have you been doing to try to stay in touch as well as push forward?
It has been so hard. I mean, on the scale of like, one to world ending, obviously, I'm supremely blessed with everything that I have in my life. My family is healthy. We just moved to a wonderful city. I have a great job. So there's a lot of very positive things in my life. But one of the things that gives me like purpose is the scene, right? I grew up in the scene, being nobody, and then now, I have a lot of people who I've met through the scene and have these relationships. And COVID had, just completely destroyed it, honestly. My best friend in the world is Daniel Niesler, who is also pretty big in like the security scene, and he and I hadn't seen each other for like a year, and it was like finally I just spent the money to go out to San Francisco, stay at a hotel, and meet with him and have dinner, and hang out for a couple days. um, and that was one way I kind of coped, was just biting the bullet on some like limited safe as I could travel, and visiting folks that I was really close to, because I was getting in a pretty bad place, like very isolated, you
Mm.
know um yeah, so it hasn't been great. It's one of the reasons why I haven't developed almost any content in 2021, is just COVID has, my headspace has been like super bad. Um, and so I'm trying to deal with it as we go into like the end of 2021 and 2022, and things are a little bit safer, although now they're kind of shutting down again. So we'll see how that ends up. But yeah, it's been really hard, right? Like all of my identity is tied up into the hacking scene, right? The people that
Same.
I met there, the friends that I have there. being able to go and have a beer with someone and talk about some righteous hack, or talk about your next program or your next whatever, and none of that has been happening. I mean, the virtual stuff happens, but
It's not
you
the
don't get a
same.
lot of one-on-one, right?
Yeah, it's not the same. And what I've been saying over the last day or two is usually during this time, Black Hat, DEF CON, from Tuesday through Sunday, my lunch and dinners are filled
Right.
with just other researchers talking
Hmm.
really deep or by the
Yeah.
bar. I miss having those deep
Yeah.
conversations on what's
Yeah.
happening next, and
Yeah.
and like those conversations spark ideas.
Oh yeah.
I used to come home and be super excited and have a
Yeah.
list of things that I'm going to tackle. And
Yep.
it's without having that, it has been difficult. It has been
Yeah.
hard, and things continue to get canceled. I'm hoping, and RSA is going to be next year is going to be open, and it's going to start being normal. And what I've noticed is like COVID has revealed the person, right? Because you're not going anywhere. You're you need to face those issues that you have. You can't be distracted with it. And
Yeah.
it has been tough in many ways for
Yeah.
me, right? I've transitioned from living by myself to being a caregiver and my fiance, and that has been
Ooh, it's a lot.
trying, right? And
Yeah.
it's not like I could go to an office to get a break. This
Yeah.
is my office, right? I
Yep.
try what I try to do, and this is everyone out there. If you have the space, is right here is another desk. That's like another room. When I want to do a certain type of work, I go over there. When I want to do, you know, any bug bounty hacking, it's another place. So I try
Mm.
to make these little offices in my house, and it has been taxing, right? And now you're starting to see that the Delta variant is really, really taking off, and you're starting to see pullback and closures again. So that sucks, but hopefully we could get through it. And like you said, you've traveled to see in a safe way to see your friends, because you need that. That's the connection that you usually have. Especially this week, I know I'm going to see certain people, right?
Mhm.
Even though I wish I could be right next to you having a beer at the bar at Caesars or something, or
Yeah.
Paris or something, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So you know
You you know what's so funny about this topic is that, like, the cons for me, like, a lot of people think going to a con, oh yeah, I'm going to go to talks. I go to very few talks at the
Correct.
conferences. The
Correct.
the con for me is hallway con, right?
Yes.
It's being a lot of times I don't even purchase the black hat badge. I just
Correct.
go to the vendor floor, I get the cheap vendor badge, and I just know people are going to be there, and I'm going to run into them and have these really, great conversations and say, hey, let's meet up later up tonight and grab a beer. And then you do get those really, really deep, conversations sitting at like the lobby bar or something like that about some research someone's doing, or like, something that you want to do, or doing a collab, or or even like, hey, I'm looking for someone, I have a job, or something like that. And
Yeah.
so, like, that's actually what one of the things I was going to say when I was thinking about coming on this thing about Black Hat FOMO is like, when you go back, the hacky way to experience Black Hat, if you're on a budget, if you're just getting into this, right, just go for the week to Vegas. You can room share with someone if you know someone, or just get like a cheap room. This is
Hmm.
how I did it my first three DEF CONs. I was staying at Circus Circus, like I was poor,
Yeah.
and hoofing my way down to Caesars. But you buy the Expo pass, which is like $300 or something like
Hmm.
that, or $400, which is the cheapest you can get, and then you get access to Arsenal, the Arsenal talks, and the vendor expo. And you're always going to be able to catch the big talks on video later,
Yep.
right? But the hallway con, being able to see people, being on the vendor floor, which people all go to anyway, and meeting them around there. And then Arsenal is sick. I love Arsenal. Black at Arsenal is one of the best things that they ever did to keep them relevant. If you don't know, Black at Arsenal is a group of small little booths where they demo new tools, right? It's new tools and techniques, and they talk about how their thing works, and some of the coolest stuff to come out of the tool space. And AppSec or pen testing has at least had an Arsenal demo to kind of debut it. And so I really like going over there and checking that out. And then all of the parties, you can network at those too. You just go register, follow DEF CON parties, right? They always have the master list of all the parties that are going on. I started that, by the way. I was the first one to do.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
That
DEF
was
CON
you?
parties has taken, no,
Ooh.
I'm not officially affiliated with DEF CON parties, but I was the first one way back in the day for DEF CON 16 who put together a calendar of all of the parties so people could register. And people hated me for it because they were like, you're spamming our marketing events and like you're making this all about parties, but I kind of just thought it
But
should be all in one
that
place,
is,
right?
that is where you really network. And the first DEF CON I went to, I had to take a loan from my dad.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I literally was like, I need a loan.
Yeah.
I need to buy a flight. I'll
Yep.
figure out accommodations.
Yeah.
And, it's so important just to be there, to
Yeah.
experience it, to
Yep.
network. My first RE job was I asked a friend at DEF CON because he
Hmm.
was at Booz Allen and I
Yep.
knew he was on the RE team. I said, hey, you guys are hiring? Here's my resume. That week,
Hmm.
I got a call, got an interview, and I,
Yep.
I started working at Booz Allen Hamilton, right? And
It's more about who you know than what you know
yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
it's who you know that gets you to the door, and then once
Yeah.
you interview, it's like up to you. Once you have those skills,
Yeah.
you'll get the job, and
Yeah.
that's what it's really about,
Yeah.
right? I think networking and having that network at your disposal is super important because when you're running into a problem, regardless what it is, it's like who can I contact and ask, and that's
Yeah.
what I do. I'm not afraid to ask. I know that I still have a lot to learn in this game, and there's stuff
Yep.
that I do not know. So I'm with you on that 100%.
Yep.
What this year in 2021, what skills do you want to improve on technically or soft skills?
I mean, I'm always working on being, I think, a leader, right? Like you're never done learning how to do that well, right? So yeah, I continue to try to figure out how to do that effectively. I'm a very transparent dude, and sometimes that comes off as brash.
Hmm.
Um, and so I need to like work on softening my approach sometimes. I'm not aggressive, but I am overly transparent in a lot of things, and it doesn't benefit me all the time. So I need to work on some of my personal skills and leadership skills. I'll always be learning there. Um, technical skills. Um, like a lot of the newer type of pen test consultancies that are commanding a lot of money are doing blockchain security assessments right now for all
Hmm.
these blockchain companies, and cryptocurrency related and adjacent. And these technologies, I really don't know jack shit about. So um, if I want to get in on that game and like maybe do some consulting or do a bounty with those skills, I got to learn those technologies. I got to understand the security implications. I got to network with those people and talk about like what are you finding. Like I know some of the bug hunters and some of my friends who have pivoted from doing just regular contract assessment, which pays somewhere around the 10 to 30K mark for a contract pen test or red team assessment, sometimes more depending on how good you are or the client, right? But it's in that range. Doing a consulting engagement like that, to have pivoted to smart contract auditing assessment or the Bitcoin market and doing assessments there, they're commanding like 80 to 140K for
Mm.
for a security test on that technology because it's such specialized skills. So going to be looking into that. Yeah, should be interesting because I know literally zero about it. So
How do you track when programs change from month to month? I know you have your mind maps. Do you
Mhm.
update them? How does that work for you?
So it's really simple. Dan Miesler wrote a talk called Mechanizing the Methodology, where he talks about taking your recon tools and putting them into Bash and scripting them. But I just have a cron job that runs AMAS. I forget what the switch is, but it's AMAS something, and it compares your last run against a target to a new run, and so it runs every morning at 4 a.m. before I wake up, and then if it does a diff, and in the morning it sends me a Slack message saying I found these two new hosts for this target. Now that's if a program grows subdomain wise or domain wise. And so I have tools running on those cron jobs alerting me via Slack, my own personal Slack, telling me when to go look at stuff. A lot of people are doing that nowadays.
Uh-huh.
As far as like program updates, like I have everything that comes from BugCrowd or HackerOne on a program that I'm attached to. The notifications that they send out, like a lot of people sleep on them. I don't know why, but customers will tell you when they've updated their scope, right? And they'll send out a notification email, and a lot of people send it to spam or whatever. And those are actually favorited to the top of my inbox in Gmail, so that I never miss a program update. And as soon as one of those gets sent, it also sends me a push alert, and I know that they've added new scope or removed scope, and I can go test on kind of that new green field. So.
I know you had mentioned a shell script that you didn't publish.
Nope.
But are you ever going to publish it?
No, I don't think I am.
Okay.
The reason being is that there's so much stuff out there already on GitHub that has far surpassed my hunter.sh scripts, right? Like and the stuff that was special about mine, I've published piecemeal. So there's just no reason to at this point, right? Like it's been eclipsed by, a lot of these other big projects that are doing recon. So it's like, there would be no point for me to, disclose it at this point.
Nice. Any last words for the viewers out there? Any questions? Submit them in. Jason, thank you so much. Any last words for anyone?
No, just happy to be on, happy to talk to somebody in the scene. It's been nice seeing your face and getting to chat, and hi to everybody who's out there, in Vegas, if they're taking some time in their hotel and watch this, or everybody at home like me who's following along with the talks and trying to stay engaged on Twitter, say what's up, and hopefully next year get to hang out. Next year's going to be crazy. If coronavirus is under control and we're back to somewhat normal, DEF CON and Black Hat next year, everybody coming back and letting loose is going to be so nuts.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
I am planning to, right now, don't hold me to it, but I'm planning to visit Denver over there in the upcoming month. So if
we have room here. Come by. Julia will cook a nice home cooked meal for you. We'll cook both of you for you, and you can stay in our guest room, and we can just chill anytime, man.
I greatly appreciate it, Jason. As always, I appreciate it. Here's the updates. We have a few updates for the live stream. I'm gonna have Chris Cochran coming in next. After that, I'm gonna have Noid, original OG, DEF CON 1. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm trying to figure out a time for Jeff Moss to come on. So that's looking like it's going to happen today. We're back and forth on a DM, so later today. I don't know what time that is, but we have, like I said, those are the three that's coming up. Jeff, if you're watching this, make sure you DM me. Let's link up on the time. I know you're super busy and you're prepping for DEF CON, so thank you again, Jason. I greatly appreciate it. And to everyone out there, I'm going to get a coffee break. I'm going to, wash my face, wake up a little bit. I'm excited. I know I'm going to walk away tonight and start hacking on some bugs, looking for some bugs. Jason, you are the man. Thank you.
Thanks, Marco.
Hey, here's your flowers, man.
Oh, I don't got anything left, but cheers, man.
Here's your flowers. That's some water. But guys, thank you. Thank you, Jason.